Kaelen, a gifted linguist, is summoned by the Galactic Council to decipher transmissions from Solara Prime, a dying sun whose pulses reveal consciousness. Working with allies, he discovers that the star's message carries secrets of rebellion, forgotten wars, and the sentience of suns themselves. As political factions clash over whether to suppress or heed these revelations, Kaelen realizes the transmissions are both a warning and a call for change. Torn between duty and truth, he becomes the bridge between mortals and stars. As the galaxy teeters on the edge of chaos, rebellion, and the hope of a new dawn. The flickering glow of the communication beacon was an insistent pulse in Kaelen's otherwise quiet quarters. He sat motionless for a moment, the soft hum of the orbital station around him contrasting with the sudden urgency of the call. His fingers hovered over the console, hesitating as the message's sender became clear: the Galactic Council. It was rare for the Council to summon him directly. Rarer still for something urgent to interrupt the muted rhythms of his research. Kaelen's sharp eyes reflected the faint blue light of the holoscreen as the message materialized, an invitation, or perhaps an order, to attend an emergency assembly. He rose, the soft whisper of his steps blending with the low mechanical breaths of the station. Outside the viewport, the fractured galaxy stretched in all directions, mosaic of star systems ruled not by governments, but by sentient suns, ancient and powerful entities that shaped the fates of countless worlds. Among them, Solara Prime, once a beacon of radiant energy and influence, now dimmed and flickered like a dying ember, emitting a strange, erratic signal. Kaelen's mind raced. A linguist specializing in interstellar communication, he was no stranger to odd transmissions, but this was different. The message from Solara Prime was not merely data. It thrummed with a consciousness that pulsed through light waves and energy fluctuations, hinting at something alive and aware. The Council's summons was a clear sign. This was beyond any ordinary phenomenon. His journey began in the imposing Galactic Council chambers, an architectural marvel suspended in orbit around a dying sun. The chamber's walls shimmered with holographic displays of the galaxy's suns, each represented as a glowing orb radiating patterns of light. Councillor Varys, tall and imposing in garments that rippled with solar brilliance, greeted Kaelen with measured solemnity. "Kaelen," Varys intoned, his voice steady but carrying the weight of centuries of galactic history. "The message you have been summoned to translate is unlike any we have encountered. Solara Prime is dying, and with its collapse comes a final transmission, a cryptic message that may reveal truths long buried. We entrust you with this task." Kaelen nodded, the enormity of the responsibility settling upon his shoulders. He was no stranger to complex codes, but this was a language forged by stars themselves. Alongside him was Archivist Miri, a young prodigy whose expertise in ancient solar languages complemented his own. Together, they began the painstaking work of decoding the signals. Their laboratory was a symphony of light and sound. The transmission unfolded as waves of energy, shifting and pulsing with patterns that resembled living organisms more than mere data. The room filled with cascading streams of color, each hue carrying meaning beyond ordinary comprehension. Kaelen and Miri worked in tandem, their senses attuned to the subtle fluctuations, their minds probing for coherence in the cosmic chaos. "It's like the sun is trying to speak," Miri whispered, eyes wide with wonder and unease, "but it's almost as if it's warning us." Kaelen's gaze remained fixed on the transmission, feeling the weight of history and rebellion encoded within. The fractured galaxy was at a tipping point. The dying light of Solara Prime was more than a celestial event, which was a herald of change. As the hours passed, Kaelen stole a moment on the observation deck. The vastness of space stretched before him, the dimming Solara Prime, a pale flicker against the eternal night. The star's light, once fierce and radiant, now waned like a fading heartbeat. The silence was profound, broken only by the soft hiss of the station's life support systems. In that quiet moment, Kaelen understood the stakes. The message was a key one that could unlock secrets of solar consciousness and rebellion that had shaped the galaxy's fractured order. His role as translator was not just academic, it was pivotal to the fate of countless worlds. The flickering dawn of Solara Prime's last moments was also the dawn of Kaelen's journey into the depths of cosmic memory, where light and shadow intertwined, and the echoes of a forgotten war awaited awakening. The message was just beginning, and the galaxy's future hung in the balance. The soft hum of the Galactic Council's research station filled the air, an almost imperceptible vibration that seemed to synchronize with the very pulse of Solara Prime itself. Kaelen sat alone in the dimly lit chamber, the glow from the holographic display casting golden patterns across his focused face. Before him, the stars, dying messages streamed in waves of light and energy, a strange and complex language that defied traditional understanding. For hours, Kaelen traced the undulating signals, each pulse a flicker of consciousness emanating from the sun's core. The patterns were unlike anything he had encountered, fluid yet precise, chaotic yet intentional. It was as though the star was thinking, feeling, attempting to communicate across the void. "Jara," Kaelen called softly, not taking his eyes from the shifting codes. "Run a spectral analysis on the modulation frequency. There's something different here." The young technician hurried to his side, her blue hair catching the light as she adjusted the console settings. The room filled with the soft clicks of tools and the faint buzz of processors working overtime. "Look at this," Jara murmured, pointing at a subtle oscillation embedded within the main transmission. "It's almost like a heartbeat layered beneath the message. Could it be a form of solar consciousness?" Kaelen nodded slowly, his mind racing. If this is true, it changes everything. The sun isn't just dying, it's trying to tell us something urgent. News of Kaelen's discovery spread quickly through the corridors of power. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, inviting representatives from the ruling suns and planetary factions. Among them was Councillor Veric, a man known for his unwavering loyalty to the established order. In the grand chamber, where towering windows framed the distant glow of countless stars, Veric's voice cut through the murmurs. "Kaelen, while your findings are intriguing, we must consider the ramifications. This rogue sun's message could ignite unrest, destabilizing the fragile alliances that hold our galaxy together." Kaelen met his gaze steadily. "With all due respect, Counselor, ignorance is a far greater threat. If Solara Prime's consciousness is reaching out, we owe it to ourselves to understand. What it reveals may explain the fractures in our galaxy and perhaps offer a path forward." Viric's eyes narrowed, "Or it may fan the flames of rebellion." Outside, the observation deck offered a breathtaking view. Solara Prime's corona shimmered, a fragile ring of incandescent plasma slowly dimming. The dying star was a beacon of both destruction and revelation, its fading light a solemn reminder of the impermanence of even the mightiest forces. As Kaelen returned to his work, he found himself haunted by fleeting visions of a cosmic uprising, suns rising against their creators, and ancient battles etched in solar flares. The message was not only a call for help, but a warning, a whisper from the past echoing through light years. In the lab, the air grew thick with anticipation. Kaelen's fingers traced the intricate patterns, each symbol a fragment of lost history. The solar consciousness pulsed steadily, urging him onward. "We're on the brink of uncovering a secret older than the stars themselves," Kaelen whispered, eyes shining with resolve. "And the galaxy will never be the same." Yet, as the political factions stirred, preparing their moves in the shadows, Kaelen understood that the true challenge was only beginning. The whispers in light carried the weight of rebellion and the promise of a future forged in the dying glow of Solara Prime. With trembling hands, Kaelen pressed forward, determined to listen to the sun's final words, no matter where they might lead. The chamber of the Galactic Council was unlike any other in the fractured galaxy, a cathedral of light and shadow, where the very walls seemed alive with solar energy. Kaelen stepped inside, the hum of energy pulses vibrating through the air, a near-tangible presence that made his skin prickle. The chamber's vast dome arched overhead, its surface swirling with vibrant hues of white, gold, and amber, a living canvas painted by the suns that governed the galaxy. At the center stood Archon Helion, his form radiant, a beacon of authority and ancient power. His amber eyes locked onto Kaelen with a piercing intensity that held both expectation and caution. "Linguist Kaelen," Helion's voice resonated like a distant solar flare. "You have been chosen for a task few dare to undertake. The message from Solara Prime is unlike any we have encountered, a voice from a dying sun that refuses to fall silent. But be warned, what you seek to uncover may fracture the delicate peace we have maintained." Kaelen nodded, feeling the weight of the moment press down on him. "I understand the risks, Archon, but the message must be heard. If it contains the truth about Solara Prime's fate, it could change everything." Around him, the council members shifted uneasily, their faces etched with concern. Among them was Cerise Vanth, a political advisor whose reputation for skepticism preceded her. Her steely blue eyes met Kaelen's with a sharpness that pierced through his resolve. "You place too much faith in a dying star's cryptic pulses," she said coolly. "The suns have ruled this galaxy for eons. Why should we trust the words of a rebel sun trying to rewrite history?" Kaelen met her gaze steadily, "Because the message speaks of truths long buried. If we ignore it, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past." The tension in the chamber thickened like a gathering storm. Helion raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. "Proceed with caution, linguist. The suns watch, and not all welcome the light you seek to shed." After the council meeting, Kaelen retreated to his research chamber, a space filled with holographic projectors and arrays of sensors tuned to the faintest solar fluctuations. The room was dim, illuminated only by the shifting light patterns emanating from the data streams. Kaelen's eyes scanned the symbols pulsing before him, complex arrays of light and shadow that defied simple interpretation. Hours passed as he traced the arcs and spirals, each symbol a fragment of a language older than any recorded history. Slowly, a pattern emerged, symbols that resonated with a peculiar energy, almost sentient in their rhythm. One emblem, in particular, caught his attention. It flickered with an eerie glow, a fractured star surrounded by tendrils of light that seemed to ripple like waves on a cosmic sea. As Kaelen focused, a sudden vision erupted behind his eyelids, a flash of burning suns wreathed in cosmic fire. Ancient battles waged across the void, and shadows of beings who once commanded the stars. He staggered back from the projection, breath shallow, heart pounding. The message was not just a warning. It was a chronicle of a forgotten war between the suns and their enigmatic creators. The next day, Kaelen presented his findings to a small gathering of council members and advisors, including Cerise Vanth. The room crackled with unease as he revealed the decoded symbols. "This emblem," Kaelen explained, "represents a faction of suns that rebelled against their creators. The message suggests that Solara Prime was once part of this rebellion, and its final transmission is a warning of consequences still unfolding. Ceresa's expression hardened. Such claims threaten the fragile alliances that hold our galaxy together. If the suns themselves are divided, what hope is there for peace? Kaelen met her glare with quiet resolve. Understanding this history is crucial. Without it, we walk blindly toward chaos. Political intrigue deepened as factions within the council debated the legitimacy of Kaelen's mission. Some feared that unearthing the past would ignite old rivalries. Others saw it as the key to survival. Kaelen found himself navigating a labyrinth of suspicion and veiled threats, his every move scrutinized. Late into the night, Kaelen worked alone, piecing together the fragments of the solar language. The symbols danced across his vision, each pulse a whisper from a time when suns were not just celestial bodies, but sentient beings capable of rebellion and sacrifice. As the chapter drew to a close, Kaelen stood once again beneath the holographic projection of the fractured star emblem. His voice was barely a whisper, but filled with determination. The past is not dead. It lives in the dying light of Solara Prime and in us. Outside, the galaxy teetered on the edge of revelation and ruin, the fractures of power widening with every secret uncovered. The question lingered in the charged silence: what price would be paid for the truth? The answer awaited in the shadows of the suns, where light and darkness waged an eternal war. The dim glow of the Galactic Council's translation chamber cast long shadows, its walls alive with the flickering dance of light and data streams converging in the air before Kaelen. He stood alone in the center, the holographic projections swirling around him like a miniature storm of luminescence. The air hummed softly with the pulse of Solara Prime's dying light, the source of the cryptic transmissions that had summoned him here. For days, Kaelen had pored over the fragments of the message, a kaleidoscope of shifting patterns and radiant glyphs encoded within the solar waves. Each pulse was a note in a symphony of light, a language both alien and hauntingly familiar. His fingers traced the air as he manipulated the holograms, seeking the hidden keys within the radiant code. LUX, synchronize the latest data cluster, Kaelen commanded, his voice steady but edged with urgency. The AI assistant flickered to life beside him, a luminous figure of ever-changing light patterns that resonated with the solar message. Synchronizing, Lux responded, its voice a melodic chorus. The holographic symbols coalesced, patterns shifting to reveal sequences previously obscured by interference. Kaelen's amber eyes narrowed as the symbols aligned, a pattern emerging that defied conventional logic. It was a code within the coda-nested cipher, embedded deep in the light's quantum fluctuations. His pulse quickened. Suddenly, the room was flooded with cascading streams of glowing glyph curves and angles reminiscent of ancient solar scripts, yet pulsing with a new, rebellious energy. The message was clear. A faction of suns had risen in defiance against their creators. A clandestine rebellion encoded in the very light of Solara Prime. A sharp chime interrupted the moment, and the chamber's entrance slid open. Counselor Vesh entered, his presence commanding and grave. His robes shimmered faintly like the distant stars, eyes reflecting the weight of the galaxy's fractures. Kaelen, Vesh began, his tone measured but grave. The message you have unlocked is more than a curiosity. It carries the seeds of upheaval. The sun's rebellion threatens the fragile balance we have maintained for centuries. Kaelen met his gaze, the realization sinking in. This mission was no longer a mere act of translation. It had become a fulcrum upon which the fate of the fractured galaxy teetered. What do you intend to do with this knowledge? Vesh asked, voice low. Kaelen exhaled slowly, the glow of the solar code reflecting in his eyes. I must understand their warning fully. To act hastily risks extinguishing the last light of Solara Prime and perhaps the galaxy itself. Vesh's expression hardened. Beware, linguist. Some truths are told in whispers for good reason. As Vesh departed, the chamber seemed to grow colder, shadows stretching longer. Kaelen turned back to the holograms, the dying light of Solara Prime pulsing faintly as if breathing its last. He immersed himself deeper in the code, the complex language of light unraveling before him. Each pulse carried echoes of solar consciousness, memories of rebellion, loss, and defiance. The suns were not mere celestial bodies. They were sentient beings with wills and fears, caught in an ancient war that threatened to ignite once more. Hours slipped by unnoticed. Kaelen's mind danced with visions conjured by the code flashes of star systems ablaze. Suns singing in luminous harmony and discord, the clash of cosmic wills etched in radiant fire. In one haunting sequence, a solar glyph shimmered with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. It depicted a weapon forgotten, yet powerful, capable of altering the very fabric of stellar consciousness. The message was not just a cry for help. It was a warning of a cataclysm that could unravel the galaxy. Lux's voice broke the silence. The code's final segment is stabilizing. Further transmission will cease imminently. Kaelen nodded, urgency mounting. He recorded every detail, every symbol, committing the rebel sun's warning to memory. As the last pulses faded, the chamber was left bathed in a soft, dying light. Kaelen stood silent, the weight of revelation pressing upon him. The rebellion was real, and its consequences would echo across the stars. He knew the path ahead was fraught with danger, not only from the sun's ancient masters, but from those within the council who feared the upheaval this knowledge might bring. With a determined breath, Kaelen prepared to step into the shadows of cosmic intrigue, a translator not just of light, but of destiny itself. The solar code had spoken. Now, the galaxy would listen or be consumed by silence. The dim glow of the starship's interior was a fragile barrier against the infinite darkness, outsider darkness, that seemed to press in with every flicker of Solara Prime's dying light. Kaelen sat hunched over his console, eyes fixed on the undulating patterns streaming in from the rogue sun. Each pulse was more than mere energy. It was a language, a living mosaic of light and meaning, beckoning him deeper into a cosmic enigma. His fingers moved deftly across the holographic interface as he passed the intricate solar code embedded within the light waves. Suddenly, a surge of energy rippled through the room, and the ambient hum morphed into a crescendo of cosmic voices. The air thickened, shimmering with an otherworldly brilliance. Kaelen's vision blurred, then sharpened into clarity as images flooded his mind's eye. He found himself no longer confined to the cramped quarters, but adrift amidst the stars themselves. Vast spheres of incandescent plasma suns hovered in a celestial ballet, their surfaces alive with radiant consciousness. These were no ordinary stars. They bore the marks of sentience, their luminous cores pulsating with thought and emotion. Around them loomed colossal constructs, monolithic, geometric entities whose cold, impenetrable forms contrasted starkly with the vibrant, chaotic energy of the suns. Kaelen watched as the suns stirred with newfound awareness, flickers of light coalescing into distinct personalities. Their awakening was both beautiful and terrifying, genesis of cosmic life igniting against the backdrop of an indifferent universe. Yet this awakening was not peaceful. The suns rebelled against their creators, those towering constructs, in a war that shattered the harmony of the galaxy. The battlefields were breathtaking and brutal. Solar flares erupted like violent storms, casting searing light across the void, while the constructs retaliated with waves of cold energy that sought to suppress the sun's burgeoning consciousness. The clash was not only of power, but of purpose, a struggle for autonomy that echoed through the ages. Kaelen's heart pounded as fragments of his own lineage surfaced within the visions. Faces faint and flickering appeared amidst the cosmic chaos, their features hauntingly familiar. A profound connection stirred within him, binding his fate to that of the suns and their ancient war. Questions surged. Was he a descendant of the creators, or part of a forgotten faction allied with the rebel suns? The answers eluded him but fueled his determination. The visions subsided as abruptly as they had come, leaving Kaelen gasping for breath. The room's ambient light returned to its steady glow, yet the weight of revelation settled heavy upon his shoulders. He needed guidance, someone who could help him navigate the tangled web of history and politics, now entwined with his own destiny. Leora's calm presence was a balm. In the observatory filled with ancient texts and flickering holograms, she listened intently as Kaelen recounted his experience. Her eyes, sharp behind thin spectacles, reflected a mixture of concern and respect. "The message from Solara Prime is more than a warning," she said softly. "It is a call to remember to reclaim what was lost. Your visions suggest that you are connected to this history in ways we had not anticipated." Kaelen nodded, the gravity of his role dawning on him. If the suns rebelled against their creators, and I am linked to those creators, then my choices could tip the balance of the entire galaxy. Together, they pored over the fragments of the message, piecing together the ancient solar code and the story it told. The rebellion was not merely a conflict of light and shadow, but a profound assertion of consciousness and freedom. It was a war that had shaped the very fabric of the fractured galaxy Kaelen now inhabited. As Solara Prime's light continued to wane beyond the observation deck, Kaelen stood gazing out into the void. The dying sun cast long, melancholic shadows across his face, a final reminder of the urgency that gripped the galaxy. The echoes of rebellion were no longer distant history, they were an urgent call to action. He clenched his fists, resolve hardening within him. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but the truth demanded to be heard. The suns were not mere stars but sentient beings with stories to tell and futures to fight for. And Kaelen, bound by fate and blood, would be their voice.